Icon series.
So hi children, good morning. In the previous episode we have discussed the first chapter. So in that first chapter we have discussed different types of plants and different types of plants reproduction and different types of dispersal of seeds. So we have discussed it in the previous episodes. So today in this episode we are going to discuss the second chapter, the life of animals. So this is the second chapter. Now we are going to discuss about this chapter. So children, we will observe different types of animals in our surroundings. So different types of animals. So some animals live in land and some animals live in water and some animals will fly in air. So we will observe different types of animals in different types of places in our surroundings. So the place where an animal survive naturally is called habitat. So children, what is habitat? So habitat means, so it is a place or it is a place in our surroundings where a living being can survive naturally is called habitat. So there are different types of habitats. That means there are different types of habitats for animals. So if you see the examples, so the different types of habitats are land and ponds, rivers, lakes, oceans. So these are the different types of habitats, and also sky is also habitats. So children, so these are the examples for different types of habitats. That means we can observe different types of animals in these habitats. So let us see, so what are the animals live on the land and what are the animals live on these water bodies and what are the animals that live in the sky. So first of all, so what are the animals that live on the land? So we will observe different types of animals in our surroundings on the land, especially in our villages and on the roadside. So those animals are which live on the land. So for example, so dogs and cats and buffaloes, cows, goats, sheep. So children, these are the examples for the animals which we will observe on the land. That means which you live on the land, and these animals we will observe in our villages, especially on roadside, and some animals can be seen in our homes also. So let us see the animals which live in water, that means ponds, rivers, lakes, oceans and seas. So these are called water bodies. So let us see which animals live on the water. So the animals which live in the water are example fish and crabs, prawns, whales and sharks, so etc. So these are the animals which live in water. And we can also observe some animals fly in the sky, especially birds. So the birds which fly in the sky are, for example, parrots and sparrows, crows. So in the same way, parrots, sparrows, crows. So these are the examples for the birds which fly in the sky. So children, in this way we can observe different animals in our surroundings. So some animals live on the land like dogs, cats, buffaloes, cows, goats, sheep, etc. And some animals live in water, for example fish, crabs, prawns, whales, sharks, etc. And some animals will fly in the air, especially birds, parrots, sparrows, crows and doves as well as example. So children, so these are the animals which we will observe in our daily life. So now In these animals, so generally these animals can be divided into three types. So these animals can be divided into three types. That means domestic animals, wild animals, and pet animals. So domestic animals means the animals which live in our villages on the roadside are called domestic animals. Example, so dogs, cats, buffaloes, cows. So all these are called domestic animals. So and some animals especially live in the forest. So those animals which live in the forest are called so wild animals. So for example, tiger, lion, wolf, so etc. So these are the animals which live especially in the forest. So these animals are called wild animals. And we will observe some animals in our houses. Those are called pet animals. For example, the dogs, cats, and goats, sheep, and also we will grow some birds also in our houses. So those animals which seen or which live in our houses are called pet animals. So children, so these are the different types of animals which we will observe in our daily life, in our surroundings. And these animals are different in different ways. So children, all these animals look like same? No. So the animals are different in different ways. So the animals looks different in their skin, and they are looks different in their food habits, and they are different in their movement, and they are also different in their respiration. So in this way, all the animals are different in different ways. So they are different in their food habits. So all these animals are different in different ways. So for example, so the animals are different in their food habits. That means some animals eat plants and grass, and some animals eat insects, and some animals eat flesh. So in this way, different animals will differ in their food habits, and the animals also different in their movement. So some animals walks, jumps, runs, and some animals crawls, and some animals fly. So in this way, the animals are different in their movement, and the animals are different in their respiration also. So most of the animals breathe through their lungs, and some animals breathe through their skin, and some animals breathe through their spiracles. So in this way, animals are different in their respiration. So in this way, the animals are different in their food habits, in their movements, and in their respiration, and also in their skin also they are different. So some animals have fur or hair-like structure on their skin, and some animals have scales on their skin like fish and snakes, and some animals have a hard shells on their skin like snakes. So in this way, so the animals are different in different ways. For example, in their food habits they are different, and in their movement also they are different, in the respiration and skin. So in this way, the animals are different in their different ways. So children, so let us discuss about each one, so about the animals. So let us discuss first food habits. So how the animals are different in their food habits. So based on the food habits of animals, they are classified into 4 types. So based on the food habits of the animals, so the animals are classified into 4 types. So they are first carnivores, and the second type is herbivores, and the third type is omnivores, and fourth type is insectivores. So children, so based upon the food habits of animals, the animals are divided into 4 types. They are first one carnivores, and the second one is herbivores, and third one is omnivores, and fourth one is insectivores. So these are the four types of animals which are classified on the basis of their food habits. So let us discuss in detail about each one. So first we will discuss carnivores. So what are carnivores? So here, what are carnivores? So carnivores means, so this is a Latin word. So in the Latin word, so the meaning is flesh eaters. So flesh eaters, that means the animals which eat flesh are called carnivores, or the animals which eat animals, other animals. So the flesh of other animals are called carnivores. So the animals which eat flesh of other animals are called carnivores. For example, the example for the carnivores are, so lion, tiger, wolf, leopard, cheetah, polar bear. So children, so etc. There are so many carnivores. So these are the some examples for carnivores. So these animals especially grow in forest. So all these are wild animals. So these animals eat only flesh of other animals. So the animals which eat flesh of other animals only are called carnivores. So these animals eat only animals. So that's why these are called carnivores. And there are some different types of arrangement in their teeth for eating flesh. So in carnivores, they have a long, sharp, pointed teeth. So they have long, sharp and pointed teeth. So these teeth will help them to tear the flesh. And they have also a strong claws. So strong claws and sharp nails. So these animals have strong claws and sharp nails. So these are helpful to hold the flesh of their prey while eating their flesh. So these strong claws and sharp nails are helpful to these animals to kill the prey and to hold the flesh while eating. So these are about the carnivorous animals. So this is about carnivorous animals, and there are also some birds which eat flesh. So those birds are called carnivorous birds. So the birds which animals are called carnivorous birds. Carnivorous birds. So the examples for carnivorous birds are, so the first one is eagle and vulture and hawk, kite. So children, so these are some examples for carnivorous birds, so which eat only flesh. So that's why those birds are called carnivorous birds. Example, eagle, vulture, hawk, kite, etc. So in these birds, they have some special arrangement in their teeth, in their claws. So these animals have also a strong, sharp claws. So these strong, sharp claws helpful to these birds to hold the flesh of their prey while eating. So look at the picture, children. So the pictures showing the different types of birds and their claws. So these are about carnivores. So children, this is about carnivores. Now we will discuss the second type of animals, that is herbivores. The second type of animals are herbivores. So herbs means plants So those animals which eat only plants and grass. So the animals which eat only plants and grass are called herbivores. So the examples for the herbivores are cows, buffaloes, and goats, sheep, and deers, horses, and elephants, and giraffes, zebra, so etc. So children, so these are the examples for animals for herbivores. So these animals only eat grass and plants. So that's why these animals are called herbivores. Children, so these animals have strong front teeth. That means sharp front teeth. So these animals have sharp front teeth. So these sharp front teeth helpful to these animals to cut their food easily. And the hind teeth are very strong and broad, which helpful to chew the food. So the hind teeth are very strong and broad. So they have a strong and broad hind teeth. So these strong and broad hind teeth helpful to these animals to chew their food easily. And some herbivores like cows and buffaloes can cut their food and quick them and swallow it very quickly, and they can again bring back the food from the stomach into their mouth and chew it later. So this process of bringing back their food into their mouth from the stomach is called rumination. So rumination. So children, so what is rumination? So some herbivores have the capability of bringing back their food from their stomachs into their mouth and chew it later. So this process of bringing back their food from the stomach into their mouth is called rumination. And the ruminated animals, those animals are called ruminated animals. The ruminated animals are, for example, cows and buffaloes, goats are called ruminated animals because they can quickly swallow the food and again they can bring back their food from their stomach into the mouth and chew it later. This process is called rumination. So some animals have the capability of doing this rumination. So children, so this is about herbivores. So in these herbivores, they have sharp front teeth, so which can cut their food very easily, and their hind teeth are strong and broad, so they can easily chew their food. So this is about herbivores. Now children, so let us discuss the third type of animals, that is omnivores. And the third type of animals, children, the third type of animals are omnivores. So omnivores means the animals which eat both plants and animals are called omnivores. So these animals can eat both plants and animals. So those animals which eat both plants and animals are called omnivores. The examples for the omnivores are, so dogs, cats, rats, squirrels, and cockroach, and human beings. So human beings are also an example for omnivores because so humans can also eat both plants and also flesh of other animals. So that's why human beings are also example for omnivores. So children, so these are some examples for omnivores. So omnivores are those which can eat both plants and animals. Some examples are dogs, cats, rats, squirrels, cockroach, and human beings, etc. So children, so this is about omnivores, and they have different type of teeth in their mouth. So with the help of their tooth, they can easily chew their food and cut their food, and also they are helpful in grinding their food. So those teeth helpful to them in cutting and in grinding and chewing their food. So this is about omnivores. And the fourth type of animals. So let us discuss the fourth type of animals, that is insectivores. And the fourth type of animals are insectivores. Insectivores means insect eaters. So the animals which eat insects, are called insectivores. So the examples for the insectivores are, frogs, spiders, bats. So frogs, spiders, bats, lizards, so etc. So children, so these are the some examples for insectivores. So these insectivores only eat insects. Example, frogs, spiders, bats, and lizards. So insectivores, especially frogs. So in the frogs, they have a tongue. Their tongue is very sticky. So if they want to catch the prey, they move out their tongue with a jerk towards the prey. And the prey stuck to its tongue, and the frog immediately pulls its tongue into its mouth and swallow the prey. So children, so this is a special type of arrangement in the frogs. So generally, so the frogs have a sticky tongue. That means the tongues have a sticky nature, and if it want to catch the prey, so it moves out its tongue towards the prey, and if the prey stick to its tongue, it quickly pulls its tongue into the mouth and swallow the prey. And in the same way, spiders. So the spiders will trap its insects in its web. So all spiders will trap the insects in their webs, and bats also eats insects. In the same way, lizards also eat insects. So this is about frogs. So especially frogs. See the children, the picture, and there is a small video how the frogs eat the prey. So this is about insectivorous birds, and there are some birds which eat only liquids. So there are some birds which eat only liquids. So for example, so the example which eat only liquids, that means which feed on only liquids, are butterflies and hummingbird, so etc. So children, so these are the examples for the birds which feed on only liquids. So for example, if we take a butterfly, so the butterfly has a long feeding tube called proboscis. So if it falls or if it lands on a flower, so it will suck the nectar of the flower with the help of its feeder tube. That means its feeding tube. So if the sucking of nectar is completed, so the feeding tube will be coiled up under its head in the form of a coil. So this is the arrangement in the butterfly to suck the nectar from the flowers. So generally the proboscis, that is called feeding tube. So the feeding tube in butterflies is called proboscis. So this feeding tube in butterflies is generally coiled under its head in the form of a coil. So look at the picture, you are observing proboscis of a butterfly, so which is coiled in the form of a spring. So when it lands on a flower, so then it straightens its feeding tube and it will suck the nectar from the flower. So in the same way, hummingbird. So look at the picture. So you are observing a hummingbird. So it has a long beak. So with the help of its long beak, the hummingbird can suck the nectar from the flowers. So in this way, so different types of birds have different types of arrangements to suck the liquids from the flowers. So in the same way, so the birds and animals, in the same way, there are some plants which eat insects only. So those plants are called insectivorous plants. So there are also insectivorous plants. So that means, so some plants can eat only insects. So those plants are called insectivorous plants. So the examples for the insectivorous plants are, so pitcher plant, and the second one is Venus flytrap. So Venus flytrap. So look at the picture. You are observing the pictures of a pitcher plant, Venus flytrap, and also sundew plant. So children, so in these plants, the leaves are modified into some different structures. So with the help of those structures, they can easily catch their prey insects. So in pitcher tree, the leaves are modified into blades. So with the help of that blades, it can easily catch the prey. So in the same way, Venus flytrap. So in the sundew, it has a sticky hair-like structures. So with the help of that sticky hair-like structures, it can easily catch the insects. So children, so these are about insectivorous animals and that means insectivorous plants, and some birds which eat only liquids, example butterfly, hummingbird. So these are the 4 types of animals, that is carnivores, herbivores, and omnivores, and 4th one is insectivores. So children, up to now we have discussed different types of animals based upon their food habits. Now, the animals are also different in their respiration. So the animals are also different in their respiration. So all living beings need energy, and they have to perform different daily life activities. So that's why all living beings need oxygen, need air. So that's why they breathe air. So without breathing, they cannot survive, and without air, they cannot survive. So they can breathe air for their survival and for getting energy, and they can also do different types of activities, daily life activities with the help of this air. So without air, the living animals cannot survive, they can die. That's why every living organism, that means every living beings, every animals need air. That's why they breathe air for getting energy. So if they get energy, they can able to do different types of daily life activities. So that's why, so all the animals will breathe air. But all the animals does not breathe with the same type of organs. So different animals will breathe through different organs. For example, so lungs and nose. So nose and lungs. So most of the birds, most of the animals and human beings, so most of the animals and human beings will breathe through their nose and lungs. So most of the animals. So that means mammals. So all the mammals and human beings and some type of birds. So all type of mammals and human beings and birds will breathe through their nose and lungs. For example, the example for mammals are dogs, cats and rats and tigers, cows, buffaloes, lions, wolf. So all the mammals. And also some birds, especially birds also breathe through their nose. And the air will goes into their lungs, and from the lungs the oxygen will be distributed to all their parts in their body. So the first breathing organism. So some animals and some birds will breathe through their nose and lungs. And the second breathing organ is gills. Gills. So children, especially fish. So the fish. So some aquatic animals like fish will breathe through their gills. So look at the picture. You are observing how the gills of a fish are. So the gills are feather-like structures which are present in red color, and they are present on either side of its head. So you have observed the gills of a fish in your daily life. So the gills are a feather-like structures which are present on both sides of its heads. So the gills helpful to the fishes to breathe oxygen present in the water. And these gills does not allow the water to enter into their body, and only oxygen will allow to enter into their bodies. So especially fish will breathe through their gills. And the third is skin. So some animals will breathe through their skin. For example, frog. So frog, so especially frog can breathe through its skin and also lungs. So the frog can live on land and water. So if it is in water, it can breathe through its skin, and if it is on the land, it can breathe through its lungs. So frog is an example which breathe through its skin, and also an example for is earthworm. Earthworm. So earthworm can also breathe through its skin. So generally the skin of the earthworm is wet. So generally it lives in the soil where the soil is moist in every time. So that's why the skin of the earthworm is wet. So with the help of its moist skin, it can breathe in and breathe out. So and the fourth breathing organism. So the fourth one is gills, skin, and also scales. Sorry, spiracles. So spiracles. So some animals, especially some birds, will breathe through their spiracles. Example, cockroach and grasshopper. So children, these are some examples for the animals which breathe through their spiracles. So spiracles are the tiny air holes which are present under its body. So look at the picture. You are observing the spiracles present in the cockroach. They are tiny air holes. So with the help of spiracles, the cockroach and grasshopper will breathe the oxygen. So these are the different organisms present in different animals. So the animals will breathe through different organisms. The first one is nose and lungs. And some animals will breathe through their gills. Example, fishes. Some animals will breathe through their skin. Example, frog and earthworm. And some animals will breathe through their spiracles. Example, cockroach and grasshopper. So in this way, the animals are different in different respiration organs. So up to now we have discussed about different respiratory organs in different animals, and now we will discuss the movement. So different animals moves in different ways. That means animals are different in their movement. So movement. So children, all living organisms need food for their survival. So that's why they move from one place to another place in search of their food. So without food, all living organisms cannot survive. So for their survival, they have to move from one place to another place in search of their food. But all animals does not move in the same way. Different animals will move in different ways. So the animals are different in their movement. So generally, there are some kinds of movements. For example, walking, running, jumping, and swimming, crawling, so flying. So children, so these are the some movements which we can observe in different animals. So the walking, running, jumping, swimming, crawling, and flying. So these are the some movements so in the animals. So for example, walking, running, and jumping. So most of the animals, especially all dogs, cats, that means all domestic animals and all wild animals will have 4 legs. The legs are called limbs. So all domestic and wild animals have 4 limbs. So the front, so there are 2 limbs in their front and 2 limbs at their back. So the 2 limbs which are present at their front are called forelimbs. So the 2 limbs which are present at their front side are called forelimbs, and the 2 limbs which are present at their back are called hind limbs. So with the help of their forelimbs and hind limbs, so most of the animals can walk, can run, can jump. So most of the animals means all the domestic animals, dogs, cats, rats, cows, buffaloes, goats and sheep, etc. And all the wild animals, lions, tigers, leopards, cheetah, wolf, etc. All these animals can walk, can run, and also can jump, and they move from one place to another place in search of their food. And if we take some birds, water birds, so if we take some water birds like crane or stork, so stork birds, so have you ever seen the stork birds? They are very larger in size. So and also cranes. So these are called water birds, and they have a long thin legs. They have a long thin legs, so which are useful in wading the water. So with the help of their long thin legs, they can move easily in the water, and they can easily catch the fishes with the help of long beaks. So in this way, different animals and different birds will move from one place to another place with the help of their limbs by the movements walking, running, and jumping also. And if we take swimming, so some animals like fishes, and whales and sharks, etc., they will move from one place to another place by swimming. So the fishes can swim with the help of their fins. So the fishes have fins, so on their bodies. Generally, the body of the fish is very thin and strong, and the fins are present on either side of its body. So they can move and they can swim through the water, and the body shape of these fishes are pointed at their both ends. So that means the shape of the fishes are streamlined, so just like this. That means the front part and back part of the fish is pointed. So this shape is called streamlined shape. So with the help of its shape, it can move easily through the water, and this shape will less resist to the water flow. It can move easily for a longer distance without tide. So this is about fishes, and fishes can move from one place to another place by swimming, and fishes can swim with the help of their fins. And also we take frogs and ducks. So if we take frogs and ducks, they have a webbed feet. They have a webbed feet. Children, so look at the picture, how a webbed feet is. Have you ever seen the feet of frogs or ducks? So they have a webbed feet. So webbed feet means the fingers of their feet are joined by a thin layer of skin. That means all their fingers are joined by thin layer of skin, and they are not separate like our human beings or in other animals. So especially in frogs and ducks, the fingers of their feet are joined by a thin layer of skin. So that is called webbed feet. So the frogs can move from one place to another place with the help of webbed feet, and it can jump and hop from one place to another place. When the frog is in water, so it can swim with the help of its webbed feet. And also ducks have also webbed feet. It can dive deep into the pond, and it can easily eat the insects. So in the frogs and ducks, they have webbed feet. With the help of their webbed feet, they can move from one place to another place by jumping, by hopping. So and if they are in water, they can easily swim with the help of their webbed feet. And crawling. So children, so if you observe the movement of lizards and crocodiles, so these lizards and crocodiles have also legs, small legs. So they can move from one place to another place with the help of their small legs. That movement is called crawling. So have you ever seen the movement of lizards and crocodiles in TVs or cinemas? So they will move from one place to another place by the movement called crawling. And also ants and cockroaches. So all these will move from one place to another place by the movement called crawling, though they have legs. And snakes. So if we take snakes, the snakes have scales on their body. So it does not have legs. So with the help of its scales, it can crawl on the ground. So the movement of the snake is called crawling. So it does not have legs. So it has scales on their body. So by using its scales, it can move from one place to another place by crawling. So the movement of the snakes, lizards and crocodiles is called crawling. So the next one is flying. So especially all the birds will fly in the sky, and all the birds can walk on the land and also can fly in the sky. So because they have two pairs of wings, all the birds have two pairs of wings. So these wings are attached to the strong muscles which are present in their skeleton. So with the help of these two wings, they can easily fly in the air. And also the bones in the birds are filled with air. So that's why those bones are called hollow bones. So these hollow bones makes the body of the birds very light. So because of their light weight and because of their wings, they can move easily, they can fly easily in the sky. So with the help of the wings, all the birds will fly in the sky. So children, so these are some basic movements: walking, running, jumping, and swimming, crawling, flying. So these are some movements which we can observe in different animals. So all the animals does not move in the same way. So different animals will move in different ways. So this is about movement in the animals. So we can classify the animals on their movement. So jumping, swimming, crawling, flying. So these are the movements.